The derelict space station Epsilon 9 drifted silently in the vast emptiness of the Andromeda sector. Its once bustling corridors now lay silent, a testament to the mysterious disappearance of its inhabitants. Captain Jared Hawkins, a grizzled veteran of the Terran Space Fleet, guided his small scout ship, the Stargazer, towards the abandoned outpost. Jared's weathered face creased with concern as he maneuvered the Stargazer into the docking bay. His mission was simple: investigate the station's sudden radio silence and report back to headquarters. However, years of experience had taught him that nothing in space was ever truly simple. As the airlock hissed open, Jared stepped into the eerie quiet of Epsilon 9. The emergency lights cast an otherworldly glow on the metal walls, creating long shadows that seemed to dance with each step. He activated his suit's built-in scanner, searching for any signs of life amidst the abandoned equipment and scattered personal belongings. Hours passed as Jared methodically searched each section of the station. The mess hall, with its upturned tables and chairs, told a story of a hasty evacuation. The medical bay, usually a place of healing, now stood as a silent tomb of unfulfilled potential. Just as he was about to give up hope, his scanner picked up a faint life sign emanating from the lower levels. With renewed vigor, Jared descended into the bowels of the station. The life sign grew stronger as he approached a sealed maintenance hatch. Using his override codes, he forced the door open, revealing a small, huddled figure in the corner. To Jared's astonishment, it was an alien child. The creature's skin shimmered with an iridescent blue hue, its large, almond-shaped eyes reflecting fear and exhaustion. Jared's heart ached at the sight of the emaciated being, clearly on the brink of starvation. "Hey there, little one," Jared said softly, kneeling down to appear less intimidating. "I'm not going to hurt you. I'm here to help." The alien child, whom Jared would later learn was named Zephyr, regarded him with a mixture of curiosity and apprehension. Slowly, Zephyr extended a trembling hand towards Jared, revealing intricate patterns that seemed to pulse with an inner light. Jared carefully scooped up the fragile alien, cradling Zephyr in his arms. As they made their way back to the Stargazer, Jared's mind raced with questions. How had this child survived alone on the station? What had happened to the rest of the crew? And most importantly, what was he going to do now? Once aboard the Stargazer, Jared's training kicked in. He gently placed Zephyr on the medical cot and began running diagnostics. The ship's AI, Nova, assisted in analyzing the alien physiology and determining the best course of treatment. "Captain," Nova's calm voice echoed through the ship, "the alien child appears to be suffering from severe malnutrition and dehydration. I recommend immediate administration of fluids and a specially formulated nutrient solution." Jared nodded, carefully following Nova's instructions. As he worked, he couldn't help but marvel at Zephyr's resilience. Despite the ordeal, there was a spark of life in those otherworldly eyes that refused to be extinguished. Over the next few days, Jared devoted himself to nursing Zephyr back to health. He learned that the alien child communicated through a combination of telepathy and bioluminescent patterns on their skin. Slowly, fragments of Zephyr's story began to emerge. Zephyr's people, the Lumina, were a peaceful race from a distant galaxy. They had established Epsilon 9 as a cultural exchange outpost, hoping to foster understanding between different species. However, their presence had attracted the attention of a ruthless group of interstellar pirates known as the Void Reavers. The attack had been swift and merciless. Most of the Lumina were captured or killed, but Zephyr had managed to hide in the maintenance shafts, surviving on emergency rations and recycled water. For weeks, the child had lived in constant fear, hoping against hope that someone would come to the rescue. As Zephyr's health improved, Jared faced a difficult decision. Protocol dictated that he should return to Earth and hand the alien child over to the proper authorities. However, something in his gut told him that Zephyr's story was far from over, and that the child's safety might be at risk if word of their existence spread too quickly. Jared paced the length of the Stargazer's bridge, weighing his options. Finally, he came to a decision that would alter the course of both their lives forever. Nova, he said, his voice filled with determination, plot a course for the outer rim. We're going off the grid. As the Stargazer's engines hummed to life, Jared looked down at Zephyr, who had fallen asleep in a makeshift bed nearby. He made a silent vow to protect this child and uncover the truth behind the attack on Epsilon 9, no matter the cost. Little did Jared know that his decision would set in motion a chain of events that would shake the very foundations of the galaxy, challenging everything he thought he knew about humanity's place in the universe. As the Stargazer disappeared into the vast expanse of space, the first chapter of an epic adventure had begun, one that would test the limits of courage, compassion, and the unbreakable bonds of friendship across the stars. Captain Thorne guided the Starfire through the vast expanse of space, his weathered hands steady on the controls. Lyra sat beside him, her large eyes wide with wonder as she gazed at the twinkling stars outside the viewport. The ship hummed softly, a comforting presence in the endless void. "Where are we going?" Lyra asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Thorne smiled, his kind eyes crinkling at the corners. "To a place called Haven. It's a space station where many different species live together in peace. I think you'll like it there." As they approached Haven, Lyra gasped in awe. The space station was a marvel of engineering, a massive structure of gleaming metal and shimmering force fields. Ships of all shapes and sizes darted around it like busy insects. The Starfire docked smoothly, and Thorne led Lyra through the airlock. The bustling corridors of Haven were a sensory overload for the young alien. Creatures of every imaginable form moved about their business, speaking in a cacophony of languages. The air was filled with exotic scents and the hum of machinery. Thorne kept a protective hand on Lyra's shoulder as they made their way to the station's medical center. Dr. Alara, a tall, willowy being with iridescent skin, greeted them warmly. "Welcome to Haven," she said, her voice melodious. "Let's take a look at our young friend here." As Dr. Alara examined Lyra, Thorne explained their situation. The doctor listened intently, her expression growing serious. "It seems you've been through quite an ordeal, little one," she said softly to Lyra. "But you're safe now. We'll help you recover and grow strong." Over the next few weeks, Lyra's health improved dramatically under Dr. Alara's care. The young alien's natural resilience, combined with advanced medical treatments, worked wonders. Thorne visited her daily, bringing stories of his adventures and teaching her about the diverse cultures that called Haven home. As Lyra regained her strength, she began to explore the station with Thorne as her guide. They visited the hydroponics gardens, where plants from 100 worlds grew in harmony. Lyra marveled at the engineering deck, where massive engines kept Haven running smoothly. In the Cultural Exchange Center, she learned about the history and customs of countless alien species. One day, while watching ships come and go from the observation deck, Lyra turned to Thorne with determination in her eyes. "I want to learn how to fly," she declared. Thorne chuckled, a warm, rumbling sound. "Well, I suppose it's about time. Every spacer should know how to handle a ship. We'll start with the basics tomorrow." True to his word, Thorne began teaching Lyra the fundamentals of piloting. They spent hours in the Starfire's cockpit, going over controls and running simulations. Lyra proved to be a quick study, her natural curiosity and sharp mind absorbing every lesson. As the days turned into weeks, Lyra's confidence grew. She made friends with other young aliens on Haven, joining them for games and study sessions. The station became a true home, a place where she felt safe and accepted. One evening, as Thorne and Lyra shared a meal in the Starfire's small galley, the captain grew serious. "Lyra," he said, "there's something we need to discuss. I've been in contact with the Galactic Council. They're very interested in meeting you." Lyra's fork clattered to her plate. "Why?" she asked, fear creeping into her voice. Thorne reached across the table, taking her small hand in his. "They want to help, Lyra. Your people, the Nixie, were known for their unique abilities. The Council believes you might have inherited some of those talents. They want to protect you and help you understand your heritage. Lyra's mind raced. She had noticed strange things happening lately, objects moving when she concentrated hard enough, flashes of others' thoughts and emotions. Will they take me away?" she asked, her voice trembling. Thorn shook his head firmly. "No, little one. I won't let that happen. We're family now, you and I, whatever comes next, we'll face it together." Reassured, Lyra nodded. As she drifted off to sleep that night, her dreams were filled with swirling stars and the promise of new adventures. The lonely, starving alien child was gone, replaced by a young being full of potential and hope. The next morning, Thorn received an urgent message from an old friend. A nearby system was under attack by space pirates, and help was desperately needed. He turned to Lyra, seeing the determination in her eyes. "What do you say, co-pilot? Ready for your first real mission?" Lyra's face lit up with excitement. "Yes, Captain. Let's go help those people." As the Starfire prepared for departure, Lyra felt a mix of nervousness and exhilaration. She was no longer just a survivor, she was part of something bigger, a force for good in the vast, sometimes dangerous universe. With Thorn by her side and her own growing abilities, she was ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. The Starfire's engines roared to life, and the sleek ship slipped away from Haven's docking bay. As they accelerated towards their destination, Lyra's heart swelled with purpose. Her journey had only just begun, and the stars themselves seemed to beckon her onward to new adventures and discoveries. The Starfire glided through the vast expanse of space, its engines humming softly as Captain Thorn and Lyra sat in the cockpit, discussing their next move. The young alien's eyes sparkled with a mixture of excitement and apprehension as she gazed at the star-studded void before them. "We need to find out more about these shadows," Thorn mused, his weathered face creased with concern. "They're not just simple pirates or raiders. There's something bigger at play here." Lyra nodded, her lavender skin shimmering slightly in the dim light of the cockpit. "I've been having strange dreams, Captain. Visions of other worlds, other Nixie like me. I think my powers are growing." Thorn raised an eyebrow, intrigued. "Can you show me?" Lyra closed her eyes, concentrating. Suddenly, the air around them seemed to shimmer and twist. Thorn gasped as he found himself surrounded by swirling images, alien landscapes, bustling spaceports, and shadowy figures moving in the darkness. "By the stars," Thorn whispered, awestruck. "Lyra, this is incredible." As the visions faded, Lyra slumped in her seat, exhausted but proud. "I think I can use this to help us find answers, Captain." Thorn nodded, a plan forming in his mind. "We'll need to be careful. The shadows have eyes and ears everywhere. But I know someone who might be able to help us make sense of all this." The Starfire changed course, heading towards a small, unremarkable planet on the outskirts of known space. As they approached, Thorn explained that an old friend of his, a retired intelligence officer named Zara, had settled here after leaving the Galactic fleet. Landing in a secluded valley, Thorn and Lyra made their way to a modest dwelling nestled among towering alien trees. Zara, a tall, willowy being with silver skin and piercing blue eyes, greeted them warily at first, but her demeanor softened when she recognized Thorn. Inside Zara's home, filled with strange artifacts and humming data terminals, they shared their story. Zara listened intently, her eyes widening as Lyra demonstrated her growing abilities. "The shadows," Zara mused, her voice low and thoughtful. "I've heard whispers about them for years. A secret organization with tendrils reaching into every corner of the galaxy. But this is beyond anything I imagined." Zara activated a holographic display, showing a map of the galaxy. Points of light began to appear, spreading like a web across the stars. "These are all the incidents I've tracked that might be connected to the shadows. Disappearances, unexplained attacks, sudden shifts in planetary politics. It's all connected, but I could never see the full picture, until now. Lyra stepped forward, her eyes fixed on the map. She reached out, her fingers brushing the hologram. Suddenly, new connections began to form, lines of energy linking seemingly unrelated events. "It's a plan," Lyra whispered, her voice filled with awe and horror. "They're trying to destabilize the entire galactic community." "But why?" Thorn's face hardened. "Power. Control. The oldest motives in the book." Zara nodded grimly. "And with abilities like Lyra's, they could potentially control minds on a massive scale. Imagine entire planets, entire species, bent to their will." The gravity of the situation settled over them like a heavy blanket. Lyra looked at Thorn, her eyes filled with determination. "We have to stop them." "But how?" Thorn smiled, a glint of his old adventurous spirit shining through. "We gather allies. Build a network of our own. And then we take the fight to them." Over the next few weeks, the Starfire became the center of a growing resistance. Zara used her old contacts to reach out to trustworthy individuals across the galaxy, former soldiers, scientists, diplomats, and even a few reformed criminals. Each brought unique skills and knowledge to the cause. Lyra's powers continued to grow, and she worked tirelessly to hone her abilities. She learned to project her consciousness across vast distances, gathering intelligence and communicating with their scattered allies. Thorn marveled at her progress, feeling a mix of pride and concern for the young alien he had come to see as family. As their network expanded, they began to uncover more of the Shadow's plans. They learned of secret bases hidden on remote worlds, of infiltrators placed in key positions throughout galactic society, and of terrible weapons being developed in hidden laboratories. But with each discovery came new dangers. The Shadows, aware that someone was working against them, increased their efforts to find and eliminate the threat. The Starfire and its crew had several close calls, narrowly escaping ambushes and traps set by their enemies. During one particularly harrowing escape from a shadow patrol, Lyra's powers surged in a way she had never experienced before. As enemy ships closed in, she reached out with her mind, not just sensing the pilots but actually influencing their thoughts. The attacking ships veered away, their crews suddenly confused and disoriented. Lyra collapsed, overwhelmed by the intensity of what she had done. Thorn rushed to her side, concern etched on his face. I controlled them," Lyra whispered, her voice trembling. "I didn't mean to, but I could feel their minds, and I just pushed." Thorn held her gently, his voice soft but firm. "You did what you had to do to save us, Lyra. But we need to be careful. Power like that, it can be dangerous." As Lyra recovered, Thorn and Zara discussed their next move. They had gathered enough information to strike at one of the Shadow's key bases, a hidden facility where much of their research into mind control technology was taking place. "It's risky," Zara warned. "But if we can shut down that facility and gather hard evidence of what the Shadows are planning, we might be able to convince the Galactic Council to take action." Thorn nodded, his jaw set with determination. "Then that's what we'll do. It's time to take the fight to them." As they prepared for their most dangerous mission yet, Lyra stood at the viewport, gazing out at the stars. She thought of her lost home, of the friends she had made, and of the terrible power growing within her. With a deep breath, she made a silent vow to use her abilities to protect the innocent and bring justice to those who would threaten the peace of the galaxy. The Starfire's engines roared to life, carrying its crew towards a confrontation that would shape the fate of countless worlds. The lonely, starving alien child was gone, replaced by a determined young hero ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. And beside her stood Thorn, the old spacer who had become her family, ready to stand against the darkness that threatened to engulf them all. The dust settled on the battlefield, revealing the aftermath of the epic conflict. Captain Thorn stood on the bridge of the Starfire, his weathered face etched with a mixture of relief and determination. Lyra, the young alien who had become the symbol of hope for the Alliance, stood beside him, her eyes reflecting the twinkling stars beyond the viewport. As the Allied fleet regrouped, reports flooded in from across the galaxy. The Shadows network had been shattered, their strongholds falling one by one. The tide had turned, but Thorn knew the war was far from over. There would be pockets of resistance, remnants of the once mighty organization that would need to be rooted out. Lyra reached out with her mind, sensing the emotions of the countless beings aboard the ships around them. Joy, exhaustion, and a glimmer of hope permeated the thoughts of the victorious allies. She turned to Thorn, a small smile playing on her lips. "We did it, Captain. We really did it." Thorn nodded, placing a hand on her shoulder. "We've won a great victory, Lyra. But our work is just beginning." The Galactic Council convened an emergency session to address the aftermath of the conflict. Representatives from hundreds of worlds gathered in the Grand Assembly Hall on Vesper. Thorn and Lyra were invited to speak, their testimony crucial in shaping the future of interstellar relations. As Thorn addressed the council, his voice carried the weight of experience and the promise of a brighter tomorrow. "We've faced an enemy that sought to divide us, to exploit our differences. But in standing together, we've proven that our diversity is our greatest strength. It's time to build a galaxy where all species can thrive in harmony." Lyra stepped forward, her presence commanding attention. "I stand before you as living proof that even in the darkest times, hope can flourish. My people were lost, but in you, I found a new family. Let us extend that same spirit of unity to all corners of the galaxy." The council debated long into the night, weighing the challenges and opportunities that lay ahead. In the end, a historic decision was reached. A new galactic alliance would be formed, dedicated to mutual defense, cultural exchange, and scientific advancement. Thorn was offered a prestigious position within the alliance's leadership, but he respectfully declined. His heart belonged to the stars, to the thrill of exploration and the promise of new horizons. Instead, he proposed a special task force, one that would seek out remnants of the Shadows and offer aid to worlds still recovering from the conflict. Lyra, her powers now fully under control, chose to join Thorn on this new mission. Together with a hand-picked crew, they would embark on a journey of healing and discovery. As the Starfire prepared for departure, Thorn stood in the hangar bay, surveying the ship that had become more than just a vessel, it was a home. The crew bustled around him, loading supplies and making final checks. Each member had a story, a reason for joining this bold new venture. Zara, the ex-soldier turned diplomat, would serve as their liaison to the newly formed alliance. Her tactical skills and growing understanding of interspecies relations would prove invaluable in the missions to come. Kai, the brilliant young engineer, had expanded the Starfire's capabilities, integrating technologies from a dozen different worlds. His innovations would allow them to go further and faster than ever before. And then there was Lyra, no longer the frightened child found among the ruins of Zero. She had grown into a beacon of hope, her abilities a bridge between minds and cultures. As she boarded the ship, her eyes met Thorn's, and a wordless understanding passed between them. Whatever lay ahead, they would face it together. The Starfire's engines hummed to life, a symphony of power and possibility. Thorn took his place in the captain's chair, feeling the familiar surge of excitement that came with setting off into the unknown. "All systems ready, Captain," Kai reported from his station. Thorn nodded, a smile tugging at the corners of his mouth. "Then let's see what's out there. Engage." The Starfire lifted off, its sleek form rising through Vesper's atmosphere. As they broke free of the planet's gravity, the vast expanse of space opened up before them, a canvas of infinite possibilities. Lyra stood at the viewport, her hand resting lightly on the transparent material. She thought of her lost home, of the friends she had made, and of the countless worlds yet to be discovered. The loneliness that had once consumed her was gone, replaced by a sense of purpose and belonging. As the Starfire engaged its faster-than-light drive, the stars blurred into streaks of light. Thorne's voice came over the ship's comm system, filled with the enthusiasm of a true explorer. "All right, crew. We've got a big galaxy out there, full of wonders and challenges. Let's make a difference." And so, the Starfire and its crew set off on their new mission, carrying with them the hopes of countless beings across the galaxy. They were more than just explorers or peacekeepers, they were a family, forged in the crucible of conflict and united by a shared vision of a brighter future. As they ventured into the unknown, the story of the lonely alien and the old spacer who came to her rescue became legend. It was a tale told on countless worlds, reminder that even in the vastness of space, compassion and courage could bridge the greatest of divides. The galaxy, once teetering on the brink of darkness, now pulsed with renewed energy and hope. And somewhere out there, among the glittering stars, the Starfire continued its journey, a small ship carrying a big dream, a dream of a universe where no one would ever have to face the darkness alone.